thinking about trying something new here. I have here as the next topic, what is ignorance? Now, the fascinating thing about this is that I could easily make the content on my phone. I know that this is the setup in regard to it going on YouTube, long form content. I enjoy this because more often it's become one take, and everything you will ever watch is purely based off the intuition, no cuts, no edits, just the way that I would want to watch it. And the fascinating thing about all this is that I'm doing this on the Osmo. So this is horizontal, right? And I was thinking just yesterday, I think it was, day before yesterday, maybe. How about I do a series on Instagram that is some of what I show you over here, and is also some of what can I do? Like, oh wow, stand by. Oh, what did I just do? Okay, center my face. No zoom. Perfect. Because I'm gonna. This is yes, two thumbs up. Okay. So where I'm going with this is that I have the mic. You're able to hear me there, right? And so on my Instagram, I have the opportunity to make a series and just great. Now, so here's the thing though, is that you're on my computer. And on my computer is my workflow. And on my phone, typically it's the notes are right here. And then I speak. And this is a free device. But I'm now realizing that I have you're on my computer. I have to yeah, something like that. Perfect. Okay. Because yeah, see that's the other thing is okay. See, but I feel happy. Okay. So the short form content would be on Instagram. And I'm just gonna go and say, what is ignorance? Oh well, I was ignorant when I realized, well, now I'm realizing that there has to be the one take, yes, but then it also has to be the capture. The question is obviously gonna be what is ignorance? And then the thumbnail would be what is ignorance? And essentially within less than 90 seconds, I describe what is ignorance. And I just remembered where I was going with this. So what I'm doing here is I'm opening the workflow on this side so that I can freely use this device connected. Great. Because I can ultimately do it like this. I'm using a blanket as a tripod right now. And as long as it's leveled there, perfect. I can also use this. See, like, okay, I have to up the audio gain, audio, audio. What is audio? Here's the audio. This is a good voice because for whatever reason, you can hear me good here. It's a different audio pickup compared to what they're listening to over there. And this is as casual and as soft and as comfortable as I feel like speaking. So this is gonna be great. Maybe throw one of these ones on. Okay, how about now? Okay. So I'm thinking of a metaphor that'll relate to the content. That's why there was such a kind of just staring into the ether for a sec. So the idea here is to have a metaphor that is universal, completely applicable, and for the topic to be a non-divisive but universally understood concept. Huh. So the question I was asked is, what is ignorance? And I found out that I was ignorant the other day. You know what I said to myself? Well, tell me, I want to learn. So there's stuff, there's root zero is the stuff you know about. For example, I know that humans got to eat food, humans get energy. Great. One thing I came to learn about was that protein isn't necessarily the most accurate source of protein. Okay, what does that mean? Like eating meat and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, well, how does that work? And then the third level became, well, do you know that amino acids are the building blocks for proteins? And I was like, well, show me an example of that. And orangutans and monkeys and bonobos and things like that came to my mind. And I realized, like, oh, wait, I actually am ignorant in that sense. There was, the basic stuff that I knew, like humans got to eat food. And then there was the stuff that I learned at some point that might not be common knowledge to people that, oh, wait, protein isn't necessarily the most accurate source for building muscles, for example. And then once you unveil the third layer, which is everything you didn't know about what you already knew about, it's like, oh, wait a sec. So you mean all my life I ate proteins thinking that it was gonna rejuvenate my muscles or make me feel stronger, but actually I got that feeling from eating amino acids. And then realizing that the amino acids were, oh wait, how about that? Building protein. How wild is that? So as good as that is, it was a minute and 45 seconds. Because the other thing is, if I'm watching a video where I'm saying to myself, hey, there's everything you know about, everything that you don't know about what you know about, and then everything you never knew about what you knew. People, it's so semantic that my intention is to leave it as low hanging fruit for the purpose that people can ingest it so that they get the video. That's the quality of the video. What would be a good metaphor for this? If you have a good metaphor for this, please let me know. Because the ultimate topic I'm focusing on here is the idea that like you know things. For example, you know how to access YouTube. And then there's like, oh wait, you just know that with YouTube Premium, you can essentially download whatever you want. You can picture in picture everything. And it's like, oh wait, no, I didn't know that. And then the third aspect to all of it is like, oh, what the third aspect of that be? That's everything you didn't know about. So that would be more about like, oh, that you don't get ads. Maybe some people just don't. They're like completely unaware that you can just complete. I've gone like 2 or 3 years now, no ads on YouTube. It's a sensational type of thing. I guess that'd be a pretty straightforward. What's something I'm also thinking about something recent that was just like a huge like, oh, I never knew about that kind of a thing that popped up into my life recently. Because that's also a really good metaphor analogy to display personal ignorance. So I'm also thinking about like, hmm, the protein one is really the most aha one that I've had in a minute. So I had an aha moment. And the aha moment was, wow, I'm so ignorant. But that's totally okay because I get to learn all these new things. So there's three levels to this. There's everything I knew about, everything that was new to me, that was about the topic I knew about, and then everything else around it, all the stuff that I had no idea about. For example, I thought growing up that having all this protein in my diet was gonna help me build muscle and boost recovery. And then I learned like, oh, there's these things called amino acids, and I was like, oh, I prior to me knowing about amino acids was like, well, how important are they? They're in plants and stuff like that, but I didn't really understand or know anything about it. And then I realized the third level to this is, oh wow, do you know that amino acids are the building blocks to protein? And ignorance. And so for those of you who are listening to this and you're like, what is this guy going on about? But I found out I found out that when you consume meat, the protein has to be broken down into an amino acid to then be used in your muscles. It's not necessarily that the protein itself is going to go directly to your muscles. Is that the protein has to take a step to be put into the amino acid for then the amino acid to be readily used in your body. When I found out about that, I was like, well, I don't know, just eat amino acids. And so, having had been eating amino acids for a year, all I can say is that I'm very grateful to have found this as like a concept. And outside of that, we're gonna go into the next video 2. We're 14 minutes in. Okay, you can just you can tag along too. What is forgiveness? Hmm. I'm talking about this topic called forgiveness. And the reason why it's important to me is because, in the same way that I've forgiven the other people outside of me, is also the same way that I can forgive myself. Something I came across the other day was sometimes you want other people to love you the way you love them. And along with that, it's I want people to forgive me the way that I've forgiven them. But then I realized, well, A, why don't I just forgive myself first and foremost, and then B, I could just love myself the way that I would want to be loved. Just a thought. One take. What is empathy? What is empathy? You guys know what etymology is? Empathy. It was coined by a German philosopher, Rudolf Lotz. Let's say a passion state of emotion in feeling. A term from a theory of our appreciation that maintains appreciation dependent on various ability. Not only do I see gravity and modesty and pride and courtesy and stateliness, but I feel or act them in the mind's muscles. This is, I suppose, a simple case of empathy. If we may coin that term as a rendering of Einfinlug, there is nothing curious or idiosyncratic about it, but it is a fact that must be mentioned. Literatures of exponential psychology and the thought of process. There is no doubt that the facts are new and they justify their name. The art of working is a thing of empathy. Sympathetic projection. All terms suggested of different writers of renderings. Empathetic modeling of sympathetic is said to have been originally meant to be distinct from empathetic. Empathic seems to have built up, as philosophers say, on the analogy of pathetic. This is pathos pathetic as usually clung to sympathetic. As for empathy, however, the adjective empathic seems to be more suitable than empathetic. If only used, the latter would have been more damningly. Empathic. Empathic. 1900s, 1909 actually. Treated as a coinage, in appeared in psychology writing, there are dozens of uses of empathic. Interesting. I just came across something I didn't even know about. How about just the Webster version of this or something? Empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feeling of another person. Empathy is capacity to understand or sense the feeling of thought and experiences of another person from their perspective. One of the greatest life lessons I've learned, and I'm 24, is to have empathy with the world. Not because you're supposed to take on someone's feelings, but you're supposed to observe and respect them. Because at some point, you may have been in their shoes or felt what they're feeling. And it's not for me or you to judge them, but it's instead to understand that they're in their space. It's might not be my space, but for them to be in their space and to resonate with the fact that, you know what, I'm going to treat you the way that, in a sense, I would treat myself if I was feeling like that. That's empathy. So that's empathy, sympathy. So then that brings up that question: what is sympathy? So we'll go on the good old etymology. Sympathy. Sympathy. 1580s. Affinity between certain things, body and soul, persons and garments. The French sympathetic 16th century, and directly the late Latin sympathia, community of feeling, sympathy. The Greek sympathia, fellow feeling, community of feeling, having a fellow feeling affected by like feelings. From assimilated from sin, which is together, and pathos, feeling. Feeling together, which is related to Pasc Pascain or Pathain, which is suffer. In the Middle English, reference to the occult like most magical influencing of one's mind or body by another, especially in psychology and pathology. It is used in the reference to medicine that heal wounds when applied to a cloth stained with blood from the wound. The meaning conformity of feelings, agreement of affections or inclinations, and from the 1590s, weakened sense of favorable attitude in the mind towards is by 1823. The meaning, quote, quality of commiserating with the suffering of another, end quote, is from 16th century, that of a feeling identical with the resembling that which another feels. So I'm a writer and I'm figuring out the difference between empathy and sympathy right now. If you know the difference, just comment below. But I'm getting to the grips here where it says that the empathy involves understanding and sharing someone else's feelings, while sympathy is feeling sorry for someone else's situation. To me, it's all semantics. The way I look at it is if I see that someone is feeling some sort of way, again, not my feeling, not my world, but I do respect how I might feel in that situation. So I'm going to treat you the way that I would treat myself in that situation. And so the point here is that although the definitions are slightly different and they're obviously going to be used in different ways and for different contexts, the main thing I'm getting at here between the two is someone is feeling something, and I could choose to either completely disregard it, or I could say, you know what, I'm gonna respect that you're in a particular environment right now, and I'm gonna be patient with you because I would be patient with myself. And having had been in that situation before, I might have a pointer or two, but that's up to you. So again, if you're a writer or an author, you know what empathy, sympathy is. Psychologists, those kind of folk, you chime in right now. Because another part to all this that you get to know about is I could easily just go on my little Instagrammy thing and then be like, oh, this video, I want you to post this video on that day at that time. And then the fascinating thing is like, I was a minute long, minute and change, right? Good. Because this is 24 minutes long and you get to see the workflow. So this is and I'll wrap up by saying this. You made it 24 seconds, 24 minutes into the video. Here's I don't want to know if I call it a reward, but we're at the point in the video where I get to tell you, okay, this is a workflow, and this workflow can also be done on a Mac, and that's kind of the point that I'm getting across here is like, as long as you have, it's actually non-conditional. It's the best part about it. That's why there's different variations of how this is going on and how this is working. I'm taking like a mental screenshot that there's a camera there, there's a camera there, there's a camera here, there's a microphone there, a microphone there, there's a microphone in there. And the point I'm getting across here is that I don't know, what's the point that you're getting out of this? My intention is just to share with you if you were a painting or a clock on my wall, that this would be happening right now. That it flows like this. I was talking just like half hour ago. I was talking about What do you do with unlimited ideas and enhancement potentials? And here we are now, feeling what it's like doing something with unlimited ideas and enhancement potentials. And so again, if there was a point to any of this, it'd be for you to witness a particular flow that once this video is wrapped up, I'm going to take you and the SD card and I'm going to put you on a storage device. And then from these videos here on my phone, they're going to go and be essentially put on Instagram to be subjected as posting for later. Okay. I'm also thinking if I were to title this video and give it some sort of a connotation to severance, it'd be something along the lines of like, come refine data with me for 30 minutes. Or let's spend 26 minutes working at MDR for 26 minutes. Macro data refinement. Am I really refining data though, or am I aggregating information? So that's homework for you if you had to have any homework in your life. Is okay, etymology of refinement. Refinement. Okay, refinement. 1610, an act or process of refining, state of pure or purified, from refined plus meant, meaning meant as in mind. The meaning of fineness of feeling, state of being, free from what is coarse or debasing. It's from 1710, that which proceeds from refinement or the desire to be refined, an improvement of language, taste, or an alteration in them for the better. Okay, so what is aggregation? Aggregation would then be putting to aggregate. Aggregate is an adjective, folks. Aggregate the verb. How about that? 1400s. Bringing together in a sum or mass. So you aggregate the information you refined. Past participle of aggregar, which is to attach, join, include, collect, bring together, literally bring together in a flock, from a simulated form of add, which is to, which is gregare, which is to collect into a flock, gather, or from grex, which is a genitive, greges, to flock, a flock, to gather, the intransitive meaning of come together in a sum or mass. All of you guys to it. But for right now, take care. All the best.